My name is Jaylani, and I live with my husband, Theodore. Together, we run a set meal restaurant called Sunflower, a beloved establishment my grandfather had lovingly maintained for years. Sunflower has many regulars from the local area who have cherished it for a long time. Despite battling cancer, my grandfather remained the energetic owner, always insisting, "I can't just sit around in a hospital room. I'll work at Sunflower until the end." Even as his condition worsened, he never complained, serving delicious food with a smile and chatting with regular customers. Today, surrounded by his family, he breathed his last breath. My grandfather named me, his granddaughter, as his successor for the restaurant, perhaps sensing his time was near. He left a detailed will with instructions about the inheritance of the shop. Accepting my grandfather's wishes, I decided to become the owner of Sunflower. Thankfully, the customers continued to come even after his passing, and our loyal employees remained dedicated. Having watched my grandfather cook all my life, I felt confident I could continue serving dishes that tasted just like his. Cooking with all my heart to keep the restaurant going, I received positive feedback from regular customers who appreciated the familiar flavors. "This taste, it's just like your granddad's. It feels like he's still here, even though he's gone," they would say. Sunflower has been thriving just like when my grandfather was around, and I'm more motivated than ever. However, since my grandfather passed away, my husband has started to show dissatisfaction. "Normally, a man would be the owner of a restaurant. I don't get why you inherited it," he said. "I'm his granddaughter. That's why the restaurant is in my name. But we're running it together, so it doesn't really matter, does it?" I replied. "Well, I guess," he conceded. My husband seemed to have wanted to be the owner and sometimes vented his frustrations. But I am the one who mainly cooks. Since my grandfather's time, my husband has primarily handled the cash register, deliveries, and shopping. An owner who can't cook doesn't quite fit the bill. I could have given in a little and not been so stubborn, but my grandfather had nominated me. Once nominated, I didn't want to disregard his wishes. "Jaylani, can I have another one of these?" "Sure, got it." The restaurant is still bustling, and I'm busy every day. Then one day, someone unexpected paid a visit. "Hey, big bro, long time no see." It was my husband's younger brother, a troublesome character. Despite his age, he never held a steady job and was always flitting about, playing around. He had moved far away last year, claiming he was going to find work, but it seems he quit that job and came back. "Oh, welcome back," I said, masking my discomfort. Despite his brother's unreliability, my husband cherished him and seemed glad he had returned to our hometown. "I heard the old man passed away. You took over the shop, right, bro?" "No, not me," my husband replied. "No way, your wife." "Seriously, a woman running a shop? That's hilarious." Ignoring the annoyed looks from the customers, my brother-in-law roared with laughter. I felt really annoyed and decided to ignore him. "Since we're family, it's free, right?" "Yeah, sure," my husband responded. My brother-in-law ate a large meal, drank beer, and left without paying. Our other relatives always paid when they visited, so it felt unfair to make an exception for him. "It's fine, he doesn't have money. It's okay to give him a break," my husband said, siding with his brother to the end. After that, my brother-in-law regularly visited the restaurant and ate and drank without paying. Each time, I warned my husband, but he wouldn't listen. As our relationship worsened, my brother-in-law started coming to the restaurant more frequently, often whispering with my husband in the back of the kitchen. I was sure they were bad-mouthing me. Despite their behavior, I tried not to mind and kept cooking. While glancing at me working hard, my brother-in-law spoke with my husband. "Can't we somehow make this restaurant yours, bro? The name is in your wife's name, but the location is good and there are many customers. Let's make it your restaurant and monopolize the profit. It must be hard being under your wife's thumb like this." "Well, yeah, but..." My brother-in-law had set his sights on Sunflower and was scheming to make it their own. Taking advantage of our marital strife, he was trying to get my frustrated husband on board. "But how are we going to make it our restaurant?" my husband asked. "I have a good idea," his brother replied. The two began to quietly plot. My husband agreed with his brother's opinion, and they decided to put their plan into action. The next day was the restaurant's day off. My husband left early, leaving me alone. Even though it was my day off, I remembered that the kitchen was dirty. I decided to visit the restaurant and spend the whole day cleaning. When I tried to open the door of the shop, it was unlocked. Thinking I'd forgotten to lock it yesterday, I rushed in, and there were my husband and brother-in-law. "Oh, you're here." I was surprised because the door was unlocked. I said, "It's our day off today. What are you doing?" My husband responded, smirking. "I came to clean." "What are you two doing here?" I asked, suspicious. "Actually, we have something to talk to you about. Since you took over this restaurant, you've been getting too big for your boots, and it's bothering us," my husband said. "I'm not getting big-headed," I retorted. "No, you are. Don't you think so?" he said, turning to his brother. "I do. You're happy because the restaurant's thriving and profitable," his brother chimed in. "What are you trying to say?" I asked, feeling my frustration rise. The two of them spoke as if they were mocking me, which frustrated me. As I showed my angry expression, my husband started to spread out some documents on the table. "I'm tired of your attitude. Let's get a divorce." The document he handed me was a filled-out divorce application. I was stunned by the sudden announcement. "Huh? What? What do you mean?" I was shaken, struggling to understand what my husband was thinking. The first thing that crossed my mind was the future of the restaurant. There are a few employees, but running the restaurant alone after the divorce would be extremely challenging. This is too sudden. I don't understand what you're saying. It would be hard for me to keep running the restaurant alone if we divorce. Well, that's why we're planning to buy this restaurant. We're going to start fresh with our own place, so we want you to leave. I couldn't make sense of what my husband was saying. It's a waste to continue running a simple diner in such a great location with so many customers. We plan to make the restaurant better. That's why you need to sign the divorce papers and leave quickly. Their demands were so absurd, I could hardly keep up. This restaurant was protected by my grandfather. The profits are already substantial. We should continue as we have been for the sake of the customers. So, you have no intention of growing? A place like this will eventually go out of business. To prevent that, I'm saying we'll start a new restaurant. No matter what I said, I couldn't get through to them. It was clear my husband had been influenced by his brother. "Well then, we'll buy the restaurant for whatever price you want. We can earn it back quickly, so any price is fine." I was fed up with their bullying attitudes. "All right, if that's the case, I'll sell it for $50,000. Please wait for 2 weeks." While I prepared the divorce papers and the contract, I added, "During those 2 weeks, neither of you should come to the shop." As soon as I mentioned selling the shop, they were overjoyed. They were naively discussing their plans without understanding the full picture. Meanwhile, I managed to keep the shop running on my own. "Where's your husband?" one of the regulars asked. "Actually, we're getting a divorce," I replied. "What? So suddenly? Will you be running Sunflower alone then?" "No, my husband is buying the shop. I'll be leaving in 2 weeks." The customers were surprised and seemed genuinely disappointed. But there's some good news too. I quickly handed out flyers I had prepared. When they saw the flyers, their expressions immediately brightened. 2 weeks later, I brought the contract to sell the shop and the divorce papers. "Everything looks good, right?" I asked. My husband quickly signed the documents. $50,000, huh? I'll transfer the money to your account right away. So, this is my shop now. He and his brother were ecstatic. As they celebrated, I packed up my belongings and left the shop. On my way to file the divorce papers, I felt a mix of excitement and curiosity about what they would do next. My ex-husband and brother-in-law immediately took over running the shop. We've briefed the employees. The shop should run smoothly even without Jaylani, my ex-husband assured. "Great, let's start making some money," his brother chimed in. With enthusiasm, they prepared for the day. However, when the clock struck 10, and the shop usually opened, a different scene unfolded. "Why aren't the customers coming?" my ex-husband exclaimed. There were no customers, and the employees who had always been punctual were missing. My ex-husband tried calling them, but no one answered. Panicking, he rushed outside and spotted a regular customer walking by. "Hey, you're one of our regulars, right?" he called out. "Yeah, that's me. I've been worried because you haven't come in yet. Please come on in." "Didn't you say Jaylani left?" "I came here for her cooking, so I'm not sure I'll keep coming." "Don't say that. We'll definitely serve something delicious." My ex-husband somewhat forcefully guided the customer to the shop. Reluctantly, the customer entered and began to look at the menu, ready to place an order. "What's with this menu?" the customer asked, eyeing the unfamiliar choices. "Since I'm the new owner, I've decided to make some drastic changes," my ex-husband replied. Gone were the traditional sunflower set meals. The new menu was filled with foreign names and unfamiliar dishes, making it difficult for customers to understand and reducing their enthusiasm even before they ordered. "I'll have this steak," the customer decided, pointing to a dish. "Got it," my ex-husband said, and he and his brother began cooking with enthusiasm. The customer, unfamiliar with my ex-husband's cooking, waited anxiously. "Hey, is it ready yet?" the customer asked after some time. "Sorry for the delay," my ex-husband responded. After a 40-minute wait, the steak was finally served. The customer's eyes widened in surprise at what was presented. What my ex-husband served could hardly be called a meal. The steak consisted of 3 pieces of meat, burnt on the outside and raw on the inside, with no sauce or garnishes. It was accompanied only by a bowl of bread and soup. We used high-quality ingredients, so we only seasoned it with salt and pepper. We wanted to highlight the aroma of the exterior and the rare interior, my ex-husband explained. The customer, dismayed by what looked like a failed dish, noticed that the soup appeared to be instant. "I'm sorry, but I can't eat this," the customer said, clearly dissatisfied. Disgruntled, the customer stood up and prepared to leave. My ex-husband was stunned, seeing that not a single bite had been taken. "Customer, you still need to pay. That'll be $30, my ex-husband said. $30? Are you kidding? I can't pay for this garbage-like meal," the customer retorted before storming out. Stunned by the unexpected turn of events, my ex-husband and his brother were left in shock. They quickly realized they were in a dire situation. Neither my ex-husband, who had barely cooked before, nor his freeloading brother was capable of running a restaurant. They should have seen it coming, but their focus on making money blinded them to the reality of running a successful business. From that point on, no customers visited Sunflower under their management. Meanwhile, I had opened a new restaurant in a different location, Sunflower 2. The original employees had joined me at this new place, which was also part of my grandfather's legacy. My grandfather had been concerned about the aging sunflower and its sustainability, so he had started building a new shop in a different location. He planned to unveil it once it was completed, but he passed away before that could happen. This new shop was entrusted to me, and I hadn't mentioned it to my ex-husband. During the 2 weeks I transitioned out of Sunflower, I promoted the new shop. Regular customers who missed my cooking followed me, ensuring a bustling opening day. With the $50,000 from my ex-husband, I had enough to hire a few part-time workers and boost their salaries. I introduced my original dishes, updated the menu for younger patrons, and even added weaning foods for children. This diversification attracted many families, and the shop thrived while preserving my grandfather's flavors and adapting to modern tastes. The daily hustle brought me a deep sense of fulfillment. Meanwhile, my ex-husband and his brother were struggling at the old Sunflower. They had borrowed a significant sum to pay me the $50,000, and now they were bombarded with demand letters. "What are we going to do about this?" my ex-husband asked, desperation evident in his voice. "You're the one who suggested this, so you figure it out," his brother snapped, clearly frustrated. The brother-in-law, who had miscalculated the outcome, was wringing his hands in despair. Then he had a sudden idea. "I've got a plan," he said, a spark of hope in his eyes. With a scheme in mind, they showed up at my bustling restaurant during the busy lunch hour. "Jaylani, please help us," the brother-in-law shouted over the crowd. Despite the restaurant being packed, he continued to call out. "My brother injured his arm and can't cook anymore. We're ready to give back the old restaurant. Could you also return the money? You took over the old restaurant and signed the contract. You need to take responsibility and make it work," I said firmly, trying to return to my work. Just then, my ex-husband appeared behind him, looking distressed. "Jaylani, please help me," he pleaded. I was about to dismiss him as being overly dramatic when the noise in the restaurant grew louder. "Whoa, what's going on? That looks bad. Is he okay?" customers murmured, pointing towards my ex-husband. Looking over, I saw his fist was badly bruised, causing the stir among the patrons. "Are you really injured?" I asked, concern in my voice. "That's what I've been telling you," my ex-husband insisted. "Then go to the hospital right now," I said, immediately calling a taxi to take him there. During my lunch break, I went to the hospital to check on him. When I arrived, he was just coming out, apparently finished with his examination. As I approached to ask what had happened, he and his brother avoided my gaze and quickly left. Sensing something was off, I decided to inquire at the hospital reception. "Excuse me, I'm looking for a man named Theodore who was here earlier. Has his examination been completed? I came to pick him up." "Please wait a moment," the receptionist replied. After checking, the receptionist looked puzzled and said, "There's no record of a consultation under that name. He might have gone to a different hospital." Realizing my ex-husband hadn't actually been examined, and remembering their hasty exit, I suspected they were hiding something. I quickly set off to find them. A few minutes later, I spotted my ex-husband and his brother walking. I pulled over, got out of the car, and grabbed my ex-husband's arm. "I knew it," I exclaimed. Looking at the arm I had grabbed, I noticed the bruise was completely gone. My ex-husband and his brother tried to flee, but I used all my strength to stop them. Seeing my furious expression, they quickly calmed down. "Why is the bruise gone? You weren't injured after all." Running a restaurant is tough. The old Sunflower barely gets any customers who are struggling to make money and repay the debt. I pretended to be injured to try to get some money back from you. "You were trying to deceive me with such a childish lie," I said, releasing them from my grip. "Don't involve me in your problems anymore. Figure out what to do with the restaurant yourselves." I climbed back into my car and drove away, heading back to my restaurant. Through the rearview mirror, I saw them standing with their heads hung low, which made me feel a mix of pity and frustration. Soon after, they put Sunflower up for sale, likely in a desperate attempt to repay their debt. However, the building's age made it hard to find a buyer. They were inundated with debt collection letters and worked tirelessly, a fitting consequence for their greed and mismanagement. Meanwhile, my newly renovated restaurant was thriving more than ever, with sales doubling. One of my regular customers even asked to apprentice with me, and now I have a promising disciple. I frequently remind him that running a restaurant is much more challenging than my ex-husband ever realized. I'm determined to honor my grandfather's legacy and continue growing the restaurant for years to come.